glad to be here. Oh, yeah. Who's ready? Say aye. All right. Going to talk about some stuff. I woke up at 4:30 this morning to start preparing. I did not. I woke up at 4:30 because Pierce kicked me and the baby in the face, and the baby wouldn't go back to bed. So I have been up since 4:30, but not preparing to talk. Oh, man. I believe everyone here is meant for more. I believe everyone here, if you're in this seat, whether you've been here the first time, this is your first meeting, or you've been here for 20 years, I don't believe you're here to watch. I don't believe you're here and you're not gonna make it. I don't believe you can't make it. I believe that you're meant for more. I believe you're meant to build the business that you got in the business for. It just sometimes takes longer based on our choices. And I find that a lot of us, it's a very interesting phenomenon I've seen in the business. I've seen it with myself, that you're probably one of the most successful people in your family. You're probably one of the most successful people in your friend group. And then you come here and you're like, I'm basically failing at everything. Raise your hand if you've ever felt that way. Very often that people, they are looking at the wrong things. And you can't let measurements become your master. What is your mission? Why are we here? Are we focusing on the things that produce a result, or are we looking at just the result? I hope everyone knows that you can't win a game by staring at the scoreboard the whole time. You can only win the game by not worrying about the scoreboard. You can't get into shape by standing and looking in the mirror. I've tried. It gets worse if you just stand there. We need to make sure that we do the things that get us where we want to go. I think most people, they're trying to, and I've been in this place, where you're trying to go 3-6 rather than be a 3-6. We're trying to get somewhere rather than become something. And if you're trying to become something, then you'll always hit whatever the goal is, and you'll stop this circling of, I'm gonna go this year, and then you don't go when you quit mentally for 6 or 7 months, and then you say, all right, I'm gonna go this year, but it's now too late because you quit for 6 or 7 months. Or I'm gonna be a 3-6 at the next conference, and you're really, really excited at the conference, and a month before the conference, you're like, I'm not gonna go 3-6, and then you quit for a month, and then you get to the conference, like, all right, I'm gonna go 3-6 at the next one. Because if we're becoming something, then it doesn't matter where you are because you're in the process. So I want to talk about the foundational efforts that we need to take to become successful. Last thing on the timeline, a lot of us come from different backgrounds. I was really messed up. I'm still probably more messed up than the average bear after 15 years, 17 years. I get it. I think a lot of times people, they fail to recognize how far they've come, and they compare themselves to what someone else is doing when they have a different life. It's almost like you have, depending on the choices you've made in your life, you have all these different locks you have to pick. And if you have lots of traumas and lots of issues and lots of bad choices, it takes time to pick all these locks to become free. But if you stop halfway through, you're still a prisoner. And we're able to change our future if we just stay the course. But if you keep worrying about the scoreboard and we keep comparing, then you never actually win. Does that make sense? You guys picking up what I'm putting down? Habits aren't part of your life, they are your life. Your life is made up of a series of habits for all of us. If you know and you remember, as you're building the business, we start and you go through a training. Listen to core audio and all the different audios that are there. Are you writing a story or are you becoming a story? Because anybody can refute some guy in their 20s, some couple, some girl, some person. They can't argue your personal testimony. So if we focus on the things that get our lives to move forward, ultimately we're always gonna have the results. You can learn a lot by reading all the books on the book table, by the way. If you don't have a goal, if you're not focused on studying, you're missing out on so much. It is possible to be 100% committed 10% of the time. It's about our commitment. Are we focused on the right things? So let's talk about these foundational habits. Let's talk about how do we build the foundation to sustain the business and the life that we want. Now, it's important to not get confused. A lot of people, they will get unbalanced. So we're going to talk about 3 things, 3 main categories. We're going to talk about your private life, your personal life. So let's start with private. What are the areas that are important? And you could list these anyway. I got this from listening, re-listening to all of what Luis was talking about at the last conference. Now, where did Luis get it from? He just never changed the stuff that Tony and we all talked about to start with. So, but to start, just a way to say it, start with private life. First, really dealing with who you are. When we avoid tough conversations, we get sick. When we don't handle the things in our life very often, it makes us ill. Has anyone ever gotten sick thinking about something and not handling a situation in their life that physically made you ill? It makes you sick. So if we handle the things, then our lives always get better, even if it's uncomfortable on the front end. But are we willing to be courageous enough to be vulnerable to do that? Second, your habits. Are we focused on creating the good habits that are gonna take us to where we wanna go? A lot of people say they're reading, but they never change what they're saying. A lot of people say they're reading, but if I take them to the tool table, they have read 2 books on the tool table. Are you studying to learn? Are you looking to master things? Are you deleting the bad habits? A lot of times we don't realize, Tony talked about social media scrolling. That's a big one. When you don't have good sleep, you have a bad attitude. And I don't know if anybody's noticed, it's impossible to contact people with a bad attitude. It's the hardest part. You can do almost everything else with a bad attitude. I mean, people don't like you as much, get kicked out of meetings, but you just can't contact with a bad attitude. Do you actually have accountability in your life? I have a lot of people on my team that I don't know who they're accountable to because it's not me. Maybe they have accountability, maybe you do. But being accountable to someone is being fully transparent about what's going on. Vanessa and Warren talked about communicating. Third is your health, which I touched on in between. Our eating, our sleeping. I know for me, I can't be a dad the way I want to 3 kids, be an effective husband, unless I have the maximum amount of energy I can. Are we making the choices that are gonna give us more capacity to perform? I hear a lot of times that they're tired and stuff, and I get that. That's gonna happen depending on your temperament. But are we doing the things in our life that might be making us tired? Are we cutting them out, or are we fixing them? Are we making ourselves having the maximum vitality? And it's your private life because no one knows. A lot of times people say, well, that person's been in the business for a long time. You don't know if they're an alcoholic. You don't know if they're handling the stuff in their life. You don't know what their habits are. You don't know where they're at. I can tell you for sure, I believe that everyone that follows the system, timeframes vary, but I believe if you follow the system and you do the amount of work, eventually you will succeed. Can't guarantee anything. I'm not God. I can't guarantee tomorrow. I just believe that if you follow the system, there's so many examples that if you do it, you just have to keep a good attitude while you're doing it. So that's your private. Second, it's your finances. These are the foundational things. Finances. 3 areas of finances, 3 main areas. First is having the right job. Do you have the right job? I didn't say a better job. I'm not saying it's bad. That might be, and that's okay. Just to be clear, if someone's not gonna build a business, I'd rather them leave with $250,000 a year. You need to make the right amount of money. Sometimes that's less. So it might be a better job, might be a different job. Does that give you the right schedule? Is it the right level of stress? Sometimes people have jobs that are so unbelievably stressful with people yelling at them all day that they don't have the capacity to continue to perform. Are you willing to change environments? Second, savings. I don't care if you save $20 every month. Make sure you're richer every month for the rest of your life. Don't spend more than you make. Just put 20 more bucks on your savings account. This way, it's psychologically gonna feel better. Stewardship's gonna yield growth. Are you giving? Are you donating? Are you making sure to give money and to give your fruits? Third, your budget. Do you have your money for your priorities? Budgeting's not about control. Budgeting is about making your money go to where your priorities are, whatever those may be for you. My top priority since I got in has not been my business. It's been my personal growth, which also was usually my business. I'm not saying you have to do that, but you want to put your money in order of your priorities, whatever they may be. It gives you confidence. Anyone that's struggling financially knows that it will erode your confidence and make it tougher for you to perform. Now, you can't fix all your problems in one day, but you can put 20 bucks more in a savings account and say, I have more money saved this month than last. Do the things you can control. I find in life, if you focus on the things you can control, the things you can't control never matter. I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm not saying that judgments and issues and different situations and traumas don't happen. I just know if you focus everything you have on things you can control, all those terrible things you couldn't control don't become important and you'll overcome them. Third, your business. Your business. Now, those two are going to support your life. The healthier your finances and the healthier your personal life, the more stable of a business you can maintain. People are always looking to achieve something. Achievement's very different than maintaining something. What you're able to keep is different than what you can get. And your foundation is going to determine what that looks like. So for your business, 3 areas. Mastery of the business. I talked about the book list. Are you listening to all the audios, the app? Do you actually get mentored? Are you around mentorship? Are you at all the conferences? How do you take notes at a meeting like this? Do you review your notes? Do you make actionable takeaways for you to do? Do you come to this meeting with questions for all the people that are growing, that are at your level? Do you look for people that are like you and connect with you and you feel like, look like, or act like, or have a background like you, have a similar age to you, and then go ask them, even if you know the answers, just to be able to have another story in your mind of someone that succeeded that's like you? Or are you intentional? Are you asking the right questions? Second, you're focused on your volume. Do you have product knowledge? Do you know what your products are? Are you building a customer base? If you got 1 new client a week, you just got 1 new client a week, that's 50 clients in a year. Not in a day, not in a month, in a year. Are you focused week to week? I have a new client I'm dropping off products to next week. Lady at the bagel store. Are we setting the example? I think your target should be 500 to 1,000 PV per month. When? In the next year. Because if we develop customers, I mean, Danny and Fernanda have 1,000 PV circle. Fred and Elizabeth have 1,000 PV circle. I think Jonathan and Vanessa have a 300 to 1,000 PV circle. Lots of people do 1,000 PV a month. Matt and Cecilia have 1,000 point circle. It's just developing customers. It's going to be a lot easier to do that with customers than with downline. I'd rather have less work and more retention. I'd rather make sure I lock people in so they can build a long-term future by giving them what they need now, which is a few $100. And then number 3. Building your structure, making people aware, building your skill set. People are always thinking they're failing when they're on the way. Everyone, I hope you know that failure leads to success. Not practice, not study, failure leads to success. We need to make sure that we know. Well, I went all week, I didn't make any contacts. Did you have conversations? Yeah, that's how it starts. First, you go out and have conversations, and no one wants to talk to you. Then you go out and have conversations, and then people like you, and you like them. And then you go out and you have conversations, you make people aware, and no one's looking. And then they start giving you the number, and they don't answer. And then they start giving you the number, and they answer, and you sit with them, and you wish you didn't sit with them. Then you sit with them, and they're glad you sat, and they disappear. Your 90-day core run isn't to win, it's to learn. The only thing that you should be upset about is not trying. Focus on trying and doing your best. You don't have to fill anybody else's shoes or be anybody else. You're supposed to be you. Just do your best. We make people aware, we measure, and we have to measure. We're in a business. The funny thing is, if you don't worry about going 3-6 and you just become a 3-6, you'll go 3-6. Just do the actions of a 3-6. Do the actions of a platinum. This is what Jackie and Luis have been doing, which is originally what we had talked about doing. They've just been doing it for a few years. They focused on the things they can control. They focused on showing up day in and day out to be able to put in the work, put in the effort, and have faith that it's going to happen. If we have a good attitude and you're not looking to compete or get something or get recognized, then you just get better every day. If you get better every day, you're eventually going to succeed. Because there's no platinum store where you go and that's where the platinums are. If you actually look at every person that succeeds, it's the most unlikely of circumstances because they just outlasted. They just kept going. That's why no one can tell you what to do exactly. How did you get sponsored? Well, a guy called me and I told him to stop calling me. And then another guy was at a Starbucks and then I invited myself over to the meeting. Warren, how'd you get in the business? Well, Tony went to Taco Bell at 2 a.m. and he contacted his brother, and then his brother got in for a little while and then contacted Warren, and Warren stayed in. There's no rhyme or reason. Tony went to make it to a gym for a guy that was rude, that then led to a guy that led to Brian. And see ya. I mean, so it's like, oh, okay, I gotta go to gyms? No, we show up every day. And we put the odds in our favor by showing up and doing what we need to do. We do all these things at the same time. I believe that anyone can succeed. I believe everyone in this room is on the path to do it. The saddest thing, I think, is when people are doing the best they can and they feel badly about themselves, which I find is most of the room, myself included. How can I have a business and feel like I'm 10 years behind? Bad perspective. And it's the same for you. It's the same for Tony, same for all of us. If we don't control the perspective, and if we're not grateful and thankful, how are we gonna get more? You can't pour out of an empty cup. It's why people struggle to sponsor personals, because they're trying to get people rather than trying to inspire people and just do their thing. They're trying to control situations rather than control themselves and their own attitude. When you try to make things happen, you try to squeeze, things don't happen. You need to know they're gonna happen and walk in faith. You need to make sure that you're healthy and your cup is full. You can't help someone if you're unhealthy. Last thing is this. The seminal action of every pitched battle fought by Alexander the Great was his headlong charge, mounted on his great war horse into the teeth of the enemy. And I want you to think about this. The guy would wear a double-plumed helmet to make sure that everyone knew it was Alexander the Great, on purpose. He had a specifically iconic horse, and he rode in the front of all of the men, and he charged headlong in some of the biggest battles in history first. Think about that. Why did Alexander risk his life? First and most certainly to inspire his men. They believed the sight of their king charging fearlessly at the foe would compel them to succeed themselves. But Alexander believed something greater. His conviction was that heaven, witnessing his act of valor and fearlessness, would be compelled to act as well. That he would force fate because of his boldness to move around him. I am so excited for this team to go to thousands of people. This is the best team we could be a part of. Let's focus on our foundation and let's make this the biggest year of success we've ever had. We love you guys.
For the calendar year 2024, the average income from Amway for all U.S. registered IBOs